Good morning, Skallywags. Shpoo here with another Mindless Drivel. And do you ever stop and just think back on how the world used to be a long time ago, like a year ago? January of 2020. Just how different the world was then. It's absolutely insane, right? We were still about 2.5 months away from quarantine popping up and a lot of weight popping up from sitting around the house doing nothing all day. I can remember being at work and having conversations with my coworkers about, man, it's just completely crazy, this weird virus that's over in China. Good thing it's never gonna come over here. And I mean, even if it does, how bad can it really be? I mean, it's just another bird flu or like SARS or something. You guys remember SARS? We had absolutely no idea how bad that things were about to get. We had no idea about how much everything was about to change. We had no idea that life would never be the same again. Just do that. Just stop and just think for a minute. Think back to January or February of last year. Think about what you were doing during that time. Think of all the things that you were doing then that you can't do now. Think of all the things that you were doing then that you might not ever get to do again. And sure, maybe you're one of the lucky ones who, nothing's really changed all that much. Maybe you didn't lose anything that meant a lot to you. But for the rest of us, what are you going to miss the most? Me personally, without a doubt, it's the movie theater. I know that technically theaters are open, but honestly, that might not last very much longer. Warner Brothers has already said that their entire movie slate for 2021 is going to drop in theaters, but also on HBO Max at the same time. And I know a huge amount of people that are like, well, why should I pay to go to the theater when I can just watch the same movie from the comfort of my own home? And I'm coming back to that statement. And then the rest of the studios are just pushing everything further and further and further back. I mean, there's movies that were due out almost a year ago now that still haven't come out. Look at your Black Widows or Godzilla vs. Kong. I forget when that one was due, over the summer sometime. But still, they just keep pushing everything further and further back in the hopes that eventually this will all just go away. Eventually, everything will just go back to normal. But unfortunately, I've got news for you. This is the new normal. Back over the summer when things kind of gradually started opening back up again, there was a theater here in town that actually showed old movies trying to get people to come back in. I mean, after all, there wasn't anything new coming out, so they showed several classics, a new classic every week, trying to entice people back into the theater. And I went to several of them. I got to go to the theater and see The Goonies, I saw The Lost Boys, I saw The Wizard of Oz, we saw Gremlins, and several more. They were all these huge classic movies that we all love and treasure. And yet, in every case except for once, the theaters were completely empty. And that broke my heart. I wholeheartedly believe that movies have saved my life. More than once. Over the years, movies have been my escape. Whenever I'm not in the good headspace or things aren't going quite right into my life, I can escape into somebody else's life for a couple of hours. And suddenly it makes me realize that my problems aren't all that bad. So yeah, movies and music, that's like my go-to thing for therapy, for soothing, it's my safe space. So when I hear people saying that the day of the movie theater is coming to an end, I have to put my foot down. Going to the theater to see a movie is not just something that you do. It is an event. Why else do you think they call it the movie-going experience? Just think about it. The classic date, dinner, and a movie. From the drive-in double feature to the midnight premiere. From the red carpet to the Oscars. The list goes on and on. And speaking of the Oscars, the fact that the Oscars this year are including and pretty damn near exclusively movies from Netflix is absolutely hilarious to me for some reason. Having said that, it also kind of makes me want to vomit. It is an experience. The movie-going experience. You buy your ticket, you get your popcorn, you find your seat. The light goes dim, and the screen comes to life. And for the next couple of hours, you are completely immersed in a cinematic experience. I think Yanni did a song about it once. But Shpoo, you might ask, why should I go to the theater and pay outrageous ticket prices just to watch the same movie that I could watch at home for free? Well, first of all, you pay for Netflix and stuff like that, so it's not exactly free. But if you are someone who's ever said that, I pity you. I truly pity you. First of all, yes, tickets are pretty expensive. And don't even get me started on concession prices. But the exact same thing could be said about the ticket prices to, say, a theme park. And yet you don't hear people say, well, why should I pay the ticket prices at Disney World when I could just invite a few thousand smelly people and their screaming children over to hang out in my living room? Because of course you don't. Your living room isn't Disney World. And guess what? Your living room isn't a movie theater either. No matter how you cut it, you cannot have the movie-going experience at home. Even if you have the biggest TV in the world, the best sound systems, it does not change the fact you are at home, and your home is distracting. Your home is your comfort zone. There are simply too many things around you that are distracting because they are in your home, in your comfort zone. Even if the room is completely silent outside of the movie, even if your cell phone is shut off, you are still in your comfort zone and therefore will get distracted by the common things that you see every day around you. Just knowing that you can pause or rewind the movie or go to the bathroom whenever you want or get up and fix a snack, just knowing these things takes away from watching the movie. When you go to the theater, you do pay that ridiculous ticket price, so you have sort of an obligation to stay in your seat and stay quiet and put your phone away and watch the movie and pay attention to the movie. In case it isn't blatantly obvious, I am a movie fanatic. I never would have guessed. Going to the theater and having somebody around me that won't shut up, or God forbid, put your cell phone away. Which, quick public service announcement, if you can't turn your phone off for 2 hours because you're just that important, then you have no business going to the theater in the first place. Those things piss me off to an extent to which there are no words. But even I can admit that if I'm at home watching a movie that I desperately wanted to see, so we're going to make it a movie night experience, that means lights off, everybody quiet, I will, granted, reluctantly, carry on a conversation to a short extent. And I will also check my phone if it goes off. And that is coming from an absolute movie fanatic, someone who is very hardcore about, if you come with me to the theater, shut up. But at home, it just happens. Because there is just simply something special about going to the theater. Whether it's the atmosphere, the giant screen, even the popcorn tastes better. So as far as I'm concerned, if you need a reason why you should go to the theater when you can just stream it at home, pick one. Then there's this theory that theaters won't actually completely die off, but instead, studios will actually start opening their own theaters. So, like, for example, if you want to see the latest MCU movie, you would actually have to go to the nearest Disney-owned theater. And it's funny that this theory's kind of been around because if you guys watch Tuesdays and Thursdays, the series of enigmatic events, AJ, my co-host on that, she actually had this theory long before the pandemic started, that that's just where movies were headed to. And the law that says that studios can't own their own theaters actually got overturned earlier this year. So it's a possibility. And as far as the idea goes, it's almost worse. Almost. Sure, I mean, at least we still have theaters, but if the studios own those theaters, first of all, you think the ticket prices are high now? How much do you think they're going to be once Disney owns the theater? And not to mention, if you live in a small town, you might have to drive for hours just to see a movie because it's owned by, a particular studio that doesn't have a theater in your area. That's not fair to anyone. Look, I don't know. this has just kind of been on my mind lately. And out of all of the things that we've lost as a result of this pandemic, I just desperately hope that the movie theater doesn't go that route as well. I hope, and this is actually kind of my idea to kind of fix things as well, but I hope this actually leads to a bit of a movie renaissance. We always talk about how movies back in the 80s and the 90s were like the best movies ever because, you know, they were more character driven and they actually had a good, relatable story to tell. Just maybe when this whole thing is over, the movie theater industry will heal with the rest of us. Probably not, but a guy can dream. But if they do decide to give it a chance and see what happens, I do have an idea that I think will help. How about, until we do get back to normal, whatever that means now, we actually go back to making those kind of movies. Those kind of movies, they don't cost as much to make. So obviously, while we're in that healing process, there will be less people going to the theater at first, and then that number will build over time. So if you make a smaller movie that doesn't cost as much, you don't run the risk of losing as much money as you would by putting out some $100 million blockbuster movie. Because let's face it, Hollywood is all about the money. And if you make that $100 billion thing, you're gonna lose money. You make the smaller, story-driven project, you're at least gonna break even, and you might even make a profit. What do you got to lose? I realize that I'm completely just talking out of my butt here, but, well, the show is called Mindless Drivel for a reason. So what are your thoughts? Leave them down in the comments below. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And also, while you're out here on the internet, hop on over to www.geekycool.com. It is, of course, your one-stop shop for all things nerd. You got articles, news, reviews, top 10 lists, movies, comics, games. If it's a nerd thing, you're gonna find it there. There's even a live broadcast every Tuesday that you yourself can get in on. I'm even on there sometimes. So jump on over there, guys. Show them some love. They are also on Facebook and YouTube as well. That's www.geekycool.com. Tell them the Skallywags sent you. And that's gonna wrap it up for today. I know it's a little short, but I just had to get it out there pretty much. Please be sure to comment, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. We are back to doing 5 days worth of content here, different show every day. So don't want to miss out on any of that. So do the things, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.